So first off, yes, my name is Todd Poth. I'm actually with Getaway Reno Tahoe. I have to have a blatant plug there. They don't pay me a lot for this, so sorry about that. So I'm going to welcome the audience online and also the audience here at the Beach Retreat and Lodge Tahoe. You know, it's really great to see that so many people are here to participate in the democratic process and inform themselves about the candidates before the election. I also, obviously, we're going to thank the Beach Retreat for giving us this forum, this spot to have the forum.
Nice.
Tahoe Chamber for putting this all on. And of course, our two candidates for being here tonight, Sue Novosel and Kenny. And I didn't ask you in the format, Kenny, can I call you Kenny? And Sue, can I call you Sue?
Please do.
Sure.
Okay.
I've been called worse.
So, starting off, I want to have a few quick comments and we'll get right into it. So, in today's political climate, I just want to point out that I think one thing I hope everyone can agree that neither Sue nor Kenny are running for this office to try to destroy El Dorado County. They might have different opinions about how it should be run and things are going on and how they would do it, but that's why we're having a forum like this, so that we can, the voters can look and try to figure out which candidate best represents their, helps their interests and views and vote for that candidate. So we'll definitely move forward with that. Also, in full disclosure, I'd like to announce that I will not be voting for either one of you. I live in the Nevada side, just across that state line. So that brings up another important aspect of the Tahoe South region. While you guys represent El Dorado County, and specifically District 5, your decisions will affect a lot of people in this area and this community. And I think you both know that, but we just wanted to bring that up as well. And I'm glad I can be part of this, even though I can't vote for either one of you. So the format tonight is going to be pretty simple. We'll be asking questions. As the candidate gets a question, you'll have 3 minutes to talk about the question. If there's a rebuttal, you'll have 90 seconds for a rebuttal, and then there'll be 30 seconds for the candidate who started off for a rebuttal. If there's a question to both candidates, you'll have 3 minutes to answer the question. Up to 3 minutes, we should say. Hopefully we can do it a little bit faster. If you feel that you need to have a follow-up on the questions, both of you, please let me know. We'll decide at that point in time, depending on time, whether we can allow that or not. And we'll try to accommodate your guys' requests at all times. The questions tonight are divided into 5 categories. We're going to be talking about basically the job, VHRs, economic development, community issues, and of course cannabis. The questions come from a combination from the Tahoe Chamber questions. These pertain to the Tahoe Chamber's vision statement, the updated 2020 vision statement. Also, a lot of online questions that we did receive, and we will identify those when we ask you those. And hopefully tonight we'll receive quite a few questions from the crowd that's here tonight. We encourage the crowd to please submit questions. If we have a question that's repeated and something we have done already, we won't be asking that, but we will be asking a few. So we had a coin toss. Sue, you won the coin toss. You decided to open. So without further ado, we'll start. I already picked it up. We'll start off with the first question, and or opening statements, we should say, and I'll frame it in an aspect of hopefully you'll answer this in your opening statement. But why are you running?
Okay, thank you. First, I want to thank the Tahoe Chamber for putting this on, and I really appreciate the opportunity for us to be able to be up here and speak. And to Todd both, thank you for emceeing tonight, and to all the other staff, and especially to the beach resort and lodge for putting this on. Love this place here, so thank you very, very much. So I'm Sue Novosel, and I am the incumbent running for re-election. I'm running again because I feel there's just still so much to do. I have thoroughly enjoyed my last 3.5 years working and trying so hard to make sure that District 5 gets our fair share of money and that we get our fair share of services, not just to South Lake Tahoe, but all the way up to Tahoma and around, up and down Kybers, Strawberry, and down to Poly Pines. It's critical that we continue to fight, and I feel I have had the respect and the commitment from my fellow board members. We have a good board working very, very hard to make sure that these issues that we face every day are brought to the attention and are worked on within our communities and within our county. So thank you very much for allowing me for the last 3.5 years to be here. I believe my integrity and my respectful discourse with my board members have placed me in a good spot to be able to continue another 4 years, and I thank you, and please vote for me on November 6th. Thank you.
Kenny, your opening statement. Why are you running?
I'm running because of the same reasons that I ran 4 years ago. I want to represent this community in all aspects of everything that happens, from the Myers Area Plan all the way down to Pollock Pines, their community center, over to Tahoe with the road problems that they've had over there, and also I want to work with the city as well. Everybody knows that I go to a lot of city council meetings. I want to work with the city. I want to work with El Dorado County, but specifically I want to represent our district up here. That is my first and foremost reason for running. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Sue, your turn.
Okay.
We're going to go into the category of the job, as we called it. What would you cite as your top accomplishments during your first 4 years, and why? Or I should say 3.5.
Thank you, thank you. Well, we've had a lot of accomplishments. Number one is we start with respectful discourse with our board. We have a very good board. Like I said, we work very hard. And a part of that, if we're talking about jobs, if we're going to get specific about jobs, is economic development, economic stability. With our uptick in our society and with our economy going up, probably one of the most difficult issues we've been facing is housing versus jobs. How do we get workforce housing so that we can have a workforce? And it's been difficult, but I tell you, it's been very rewarding to be able to go out and work on just that, on getting economic stability for our communities. Working alongside the Tahoe Prosperity Center, we've been able to identify where some of those weaknesses are. How do we incentivize people's desire to want to build economically feasibly workforce housing? So that's been a really important issue. I think that's been incredibly important. Along other lines, we've had broadband discussions, trying to get our broadband working to all of our areas, because that again is economic development. If you don't have broadband, it's very difficult for you to be able to work from home or to be able to communicate if you're telecommuting, which I would love to see more of up here in Lake Tahoe and around our surrounding areas. In Pollock Pines, we bought a park since I came on board, and it's been fabulous. And recently we were just talking down in Pollock Pines about what we want to do with that park. We had to start with some basics with ADA requirements, but we're moving forward. In Tahoe, when the roads had an issue, we came in and got those roads fixed at a cost that we took care of because we felt it was critical. One of our providers wasn't able to do a proper road surfacing, so we came in and made sure that we took care of our residents up there. And along back in South Shore, it's been really critical to talk to our city council. And I think we have a really great relationship, and I've been very proud of that working relationship to work on what's next for 56 acres. Very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Do you have a rebuttal? Okay. Okay.
We're just going to.
Go next question. In challenging the incumbent, what are the top 3 things you would do differently if elected?
Okay, when I'm elected, I would like to do these following things in the Myers, Pollock Pines, and the city area. I want to work on getting a better crosswalk at the bug station. The agricultural station, we all know it as a bug station. If you have ever tried to cross that at any time of the day or night, it is almost impossible. Nobody stops for you. I had my grandson there in a stroller, and even the CHP didn't stop because they couldn't see me. I would do something about the gas station, Tweet's gas station out there. That has been an eyesore for probably as long as I've been in town. The visitor center. We have a visitor center out there that is not being used, and we need to utilize that. Working on a Myers welcome sign. In the past, I have worked on that, and I've got a sign all ready to go, but we have not been able to move forward with that because of the lack of communication within the Myers community plan. I'd work on the Myers area plan, and I would work on it with the community because that's what the community desires. Everybody wants to be involved. Now, I don't know a lot about what's going on with the Myers community plan after August of 2014. That was the last meeting that we had as a group, the Myers area committee, that had as a group to put together a plan for Myers. I would get personnel back to staff our facilities up here. We have the infrastructure up here in the county, but we do not have the staff. We have to go down to Placerville and beg for money. I would try to bring back the veteran services. We have a lot of veterans that live around this area. I'm a veteran myself, and I would like to see those services returned. In Pollock Pines, for those of you in Pollock Pines, I want to work with you guys on your community center. I want to work on repairing the park facilities. I was at the meeting with Sue, and it went very well. The community needs to get involved with that. We need better signage on Highway 50 for the Pollock Pines business area. Nobody knows that they have a business section there. And that's one of the things that most of the business people have told me, that people come zipping by and they don't know what to stop. There's, no signs. With the city, I would work together with the city on the 56-acre project. I would work together with them on the senior center. Now, the county owns the senior center. They should be responsible for all the repairs, and yet they're balking at it. That's not correct. We need to work together on that, and the county needs to step up. And I would repair all county-owned structures, or attempt to repair all county structures. Everything needs money. And that's our job, is to go down there. It's your job to give me what you want, and it's my job to go down there and implement it and get the money.
Thank you. Sue, you have 90 seconds for rebuttal.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to hear about that, just because I do want to let everybody know, we just had our first discussion with the Myers area plan, talking with possible candidates who would like to be on the Myers Advisory Committee. That is where this next issue is, for getting everybody out in Myers, get them together, and start talking again about the community, what the community wants, take a look at the plan, and make a decision. And when it comes to the 56 acres, we've had discussions between our CAO and the interim city manager, and it has been decided that it's not the city, it's not the county, rather, that needs to make those repairs. It's the city, and that he has been in an agreement. So we are moving forward. We're very much moving forward. In Pollock Pines, we do have a sign committee that is just about ready. We're very excited, just about ready to get our sign moving there. So there are things moving. It's a county, it's slow pace, but we are moving in the right direction.
Kenny, you have a 30-second to respond.
4 years ago, when we elected our county supervisor, we were told that we would have meetings every 3 months for the Myers area plan. We would have more of them if required. That is from a statement from Sue. The first community meeting that we have had since that time has been last week or the other day with the Myers.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Next question is for Sue. And you will have time to rebut. This is a 3-minute question. Sue, some concern has been expressed that you are spread too thin. Also representing the county on the TRPA Governing Board, the Tahoe Transportation District Board, and the California Conservation Board. This is an online question, by the way. Please discuss the value of serving on these boards and why, I guess.
Yeah, well, some of these are required boards, and some of them are very, very not required, but it's very, very important that an elected official be there at the board meetings. I will tell you that every other jurisdiction, every other county has their elected official at the same meetings. So that's very, very important, because that's the way you collaborate with other electeds. You go to these meetings and you understand what's going on in their community. We are one big basin up here in Tahoe. We are not just a jurisdiction. So it's incredibly important that you be there and you talk and you collaborate. The only exception to any of that is Placer County, where they have a county supervisor who doesn't live in Tahoe, so she appoints Tahoe residents. But other than that, all the other jurisdictions have elected officials. And so it's very, very important. So I don't think I'm spread too thin. I think actually the opposite, that this needs to be critical. You need to be there, and I'm there whenever I can. Then it gives me that time to go back to our constituents and talk about what's happening within the basin as a whole. And that gives us that collaborative time to be able to understand what's happening in North Shore necessarily affects us. What's happening over in Douglas County necessarily affects us. If I'm not there, if I'm relying on a staff member, I'm not doing my job, because I am the one that needs to have that input and be able to explain to them why I'm doing something that they don't understand. So it's a collaborative, informational, that's a part of your job. You have to work 60 hours, 70 hours a week. I'm there to do that. I have been, and I'm hoping I can do it for another 4 years.
Kenny, did you have a response?
Yes, 4 years ago, I was approached and I was told by another candidate that we would have to be on approximately 22 different committees and boards. And my response was that I only need to be on 4 or 5 boards that are located up here in District 5 and Pollock Pines, that, that I could devote 100% of my time to my community. That needs to be first. We cannot have a cell spread too thin, like Sue said, and she's been on a lot of committees, I admit that. I will be on those committees also, but my main focus will be on the committees and the boards up here, the TTD, the TRPA, and the CCC. The reason that we need to be on those boards is, once again, I have to go back to the Myers Area Plan. We need representation. We have no representation from our supervisor for the Myers Area Plan with the TRPA, the TTD, or the CCC. We need to be there. We were appointed, or excuse me, the supervisor appointed a proxy, another supervisor, to represent us. And to the best of my knowledge, unless I'm corrected, that supervisor has only been to 1 meeting in the last 4 years for the Myers Area Plan.
Sue?
Thank you.
30 seconds
Yes,
to
please.
respond.
So, Kenny, you know, you have the same conflict of interest. When we would have voted on it, we only voted on the Myers Area Plan one time with the Board of Supervisors. That was one vote. It was unanimous, and everyone was very happy with the plan. TRPA, same thing. My alternate to the TRPA is Brian. He is a Deer Camp, and he's from District 3. He came up here. He was going to come up here. Couldn't make it. So our CAO actually did the vote, and guess what? He has property up here. So it worked out very well. Again, it wasn't anything restricted.
Thank you, Sue. Kenny, the next question to you. This is also an online question. How are you preparing, as well as adjusting your time commitments, to ensure you have the time to serve as a District 5 supervisor?
The District 5 supervisor, or any supervisor, is a full-time job. My business, which I've been in business for 37 years up here, will come to a halt with me at the top. I will not be involved with that business. That will be secondary. Also, and I know where this question was going, skiing. Skiing will be secondary as well. This is my focus, is District 5 and the community.
Sue, your response?
30 seconds?
A minute and a half, 90 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, I do want to say it is absolutely a full-time job, and I'm very, very committed. I have been for 3.5 years. I'm very excited about the thought to go for another 4 years, because it is a huge commitment. I absolutely, absolutely love this community. I love Pollock Pines. I love Tahoe. I love Strawberry. I love all the people in our district. It's been a wonderful experience, and I'm really, really excited about the thought of doing another 4 years.
Kenny, 30 seconds.
This is in response to a question that we answered, the last one. I have no conflict of interest in the Myers Area Plan.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So it's funny you say that. We have another question. It's going to be for both of you. Okay, I can't remember who went first that time. Kenny, you went first that time, so it's gonna be Sue this time. Sue, will you need to recuse yourself on any future issues related to the Myers area plan?
So again, let's go back to that. If you have real property within the Myers area plan, according to FPPC, they sent me a little notice after I asked them about this. If you have any real property within the Myers area plan, you need to recuse yourself. That's not anything big or different. This happens all the time in government where there's a recusal because of a specific project, whatever that is. I don't know what's going to come up in the future, but the plan has been approved. So now you're looking at projects. Is your home or your business near a project? If that happens, you need to recuse yourself. That's the law. It doesn't mean you can't stay active. I can stay active with our community through the entire process of any kind of Myers issues unless I have a conflict on a specific project. Same goes for Mr. Kurzweiler. We understand exactly, but that's the law.
Kenny, same question to you, 3 minutes.
Okay, I have the conclusion from the FPPC. It was the same one that Sue received. And the conclusion from the FPPC, based on the fact that your real property interest is located directly within the proposed map, Myers area plan, we find that decisions regarding the plan foreseeably affect your interests in a material way. Accordingly, you may not make, participate in making, or use your position to influence any decisions regarding the map as discussed below. That includes the TRPA. If the TRPA is discussing the map, our representative will have to leave the room. Now, when it comes to real property is the house that you own. Real property is not reportable on your Form 700 as income. It is not income, it is your home. And yes, that is true. You will have to recuse yourself if you have real property within the Myers area plan. My home is outside of the Myers area plan. I am not located within the boundaries. So I will not have to recuse myself on anything to do with the Myers plan. I will be able to discuss it with my community. I will be able to take input from my community, and I will be able to give that input to the Board of Supervisors. So when we make a decision, it's based on what the community, what you guys want.
So,
So if you absolutely want to follow up on that, I'll give it to you, and Kenny will have a 30-second rebuttal.
yeah, I wanted to say that
Okay.
he's correct in saying it's real property. The issue that is at my concern is that he also owns real property within. His home is, unless you moved, it's still on Blitzen, that's within the Myers area plan. So, and it's a moot point at any rate because the Myers area plan has already been voted on. It's going to now depend upon specific projects. So it's moot as far as that. Will not be coming back to the TRPA or to the El Dorado County voting on whether you approve the Myers area plan. It's been approved.
Kenny, 30 seconds.
My home is located at 2189 Blitzen. When you turn left on Highway 88, and you turn right on Pomo, and you turn left on Blitzen, the first lot on the left is a forestry lot. The next lot is a house. I am 2 doors down from that. The property line for the map, or the zone for the map, ends at that forestry lot. I am located outside of the map area.
Okay, so before we move on to the next subject, we do have a audience question. Kenny, this is to you. Why do you have a Lake Tahoe sticker with a Confederate flag inside the lake on your truck? What message are you intending to send?
Do you have 3 minutes on this?
Yes.
Okay, I own Lake Tahoe Ski Bum. And what that is, that's an online retail store that we promote Lake Tahoe. And how we do it is everybody wants to move up here and be a ski bum. But you have to be proud of where you're from. So the first original sticker that I came up with was the United States flag inside the outline of the lake. That is trademarked, registered, and patented with the United States government, as is Tahoe Ski Bum. When I was bartending, I used to talk to people and I'd meet everybody and I'd talk to them and I'd say, howdy. And someone said, what, are you from the South? And I said, Yeah, I'm from South Lake Tahoe. This was almost 9 years ago. I put all of the state flags, all of the country flags inside the shape of the lake. They are all registered with the state of California as a trademark, as well as the United States Trademark Office. All that represents to me is that I'm from South Lake Tahoe. I am born and bred Northern California boy, right down the street. I've been up here 41 years. You know me. The thing is that when I go to a vendor show and I go to every Live at Lakeview, that Confederate flag is my biggest seller. That's what it means to me. The bottom line is, this is America. It's a capitalistic country, and what that represents to me is $3.
Sue, if you
Thank
wish,
you.
you have a
Please.
second thought.
Thank you. What the Confederate flag represents to a lot of people in America nowadays is racism. Pure and simple. One of the reasons I started Human Rights Commission back in this last summer in the county is that I feel that the dialogue between ourselves is getting really nasty, and I don't like it. I think we need to change that. So I started this Human Rights Commission, and I'm hoping will also flow down into our elementary schools to our children and start talking about what's important, how respectful conversation can happen. Respectful discourse, that's what I asked for, it's what I think we are doing tonight, is sitting there and maybe different, but when you have symbolisms of racism, that changes a lot in a lot of people's minds. It certainly does in mine.
Kenny, 30 seconds.
I'm 20% Northern American, Native American. So racism, if I was to put an Indian flag on there, I would not remove it. And I would not remove it because if somebody tells me to remove it, because they say that that's racism against the Spaniards or whoever it is. I don't see that as racism. And I was asked what that meant to me, and I already told you. What it means to me is $3, and it's capitalism.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to a favorite subject of everybody, VHRs. And the crowd goes wild. Sue, you get to go first. Sue, you've served as a member of the Board of Supervisors Ad Hoc VHR Committee. Please summarize the changes you've made to the county VHR regulations and why you believe they are important overall over the prior regulations.
Yeah, well, certainly vacation home rentals have been of concern to all of us, my concern also, and to all of our communities throughout the county. So we did form an ad hoc committee, and we spent almost a year of looking into what needs to happen. How do we, can we allow peace and quiet in our neighborhoods and still allow vacation home rentals? Vacation home rentals have been around for a long time in Lake Tahoe. What's happened lately is there's been a huge growth. Now, in our numbers, when we look at them, we went from somewhere in 600 of those in 2010 to about 828 right now, somewhere in those numbers. So it's been definitely been an increase. So our ad hoc committee took a look, and what we made recommendations to in the last 2 months were over a dozen changes. Number one, we are going to require that when you get a permit, you get a fire inspection. And that fire inspection will be taking a look at dangerous, hazardous conditions in those homes. We don't want that to be a problem with not just vacation rentals. We'd love to have that, of course, in all of our homes, but especially in vacation home rentals. Also, we lowered the occupancy rate. We now have a standard of 2 heads per bed. As everyone might know, count of 2 people per bed can stay in the home, was +4 for the county. We've changed that to +2. I've been told that that will affect approximately 30% of our vacation home rentals, because for me, that's important, that we find a way to cap off somehow the maximum amount of people. We've had a lot of party homes. You've seen them. We've had parties, bachelorette parties, whatever it is. That's the kind of bad behavior we are trying to stop. So that was another issue we had, is let's see if we can figure out a way to cap, or even a moratorium. What can we do? Well, we had county council talk about it, and they said, you know, if you put a cap on homes, and you have a special use permit for the larger homes, which I thought was a great idea, then the cap won't apply to them. I said, whoa, wait a minute. That needs to change. We need to figure out a way for that to change. That just happened in the last 3 weeks. County council came in and said, we can't do this. We need data, we need time, we need to figure it out. So that's what our last board meeting was about, is saying, okay, we're gonna take our enforcement issues. We've got, like I say, over a dozen of them. We're gonna take those enforcement issues and we're going to apply them. And for the next 6 months, we're gonna come back. In the meantime, you staff go in and find out a way that we can talk about what's really, really important here, and that's the clustering and how that affects you as a neighbor. And we're going to be working on that. They're coming back to us in March on that.
Kenny, 90 seconds.
VHRs, we used to call them vacation rentals, second homes. They've always been here. It's always been approximately a 26%, 74% people that live here own their homes, with the 74% being second homes. It has only been in the last 5 to 6 years that we've actually had major problems, and it's all due to the apps that are coming out. And when you call a number, if you have a problem, which the enforcement and the rules are on the books at 10 o'clock, no noise, that applies to everybody, straight across the board. We have no enforcement. When you call that 800 number, you get someone in Texas. We don't want to hear that. I put together a set of 8 ordinances and read them to the Board of Supervisors along with turning them in. I got those from the anti-VHR, the pro-VHR, property managers, and I put together a list, and nobody is going to walk away from this unscathed. It's not going to happen. What we need to do is to get rid of the 6 to 8% of the VHRs that are causing 100% of the problems. We can coexist and we can survive together. But what we cannot do is allow the illegal ones, which I know there's a lot of them out there. And we need to go after the homeowner and put a lien on their house if they are illegal and prevent them from doing that. But we can survive with VHRs and vacation home rentals. But we cannot survive with the unlimited partying.
Time.
Did you want 30
Yeah,
seconds?
quickly, I do want to talk about enforcement, because that is critical. It is, I agree, we need to shut down the bad actors out there in our neighborhoods. This needs to stop. And so what's happened is, what our board has asked is for the tax collector to take this out of her purview, which, no offense to the tax collector, but she was just taking a permit, handing people a license if they had $79. Realize that that is way antiquated and we need to change it. So we're asking the sheriffs to take care of this, and they said they will.
All right. Kenny, next question to you, and just 3 minutes, and then Sue on 90 seconds if she wishes. On social media, you seem, and this is an online question, on social media you seem to be against vacation rentals in residential areas within the county of Lake Tahoe. This is a vacation rental question, so you have time to answer it. What is your position on VHRs?
My position is, number one, enforcement of the rules that are on the books right now. The reason we are in the position that we are in is we have allowed, the city, the county, the developers have allowed us to overbuild our neighborhoods. They have allowed us to build 6,000, 4,000 square foot homes in a 2,200 square foot area. That will never change as long as those houses are there. We will not have affordable housing. If we got rid of every single VHR today, that would not help to any large degree affordable housing. Because who's going to be able to afford a 5,000 or 6,000 square foot home? Nobody. We have brought this on ourselves. And the reason we are in the position we are in today is because the lack of enforcement and the lack of will by our representatives to enforce the rules that are on the books. You make a party after 10 o'clock, or excuse me, you make noise after 10 o'clock, you should get written up. Okay, now my position on the VHRs, it's just like I said earlier. We can coexist. We do not need to get rid of all the VHRs. But what they need to do is they need to follow the law. The law states that you cannot have a multifamily, multi-use, commercial venture in an R1 zone area. Everybody that's been building the last few years has looked the other way. They knew this was coming. We have brought this on ourselves by not enforcing the TRPA rules of an R1 zoned area for single family. That's my position.
Sue, 90 seconds.
Thank you. Yeah, no, again, going back to enforcement, I think it's incredibly important that we do slam the gate and the front door for those who are illegally using their homes for vacation rentals. And our sheriff has promised us that he's gonna start enforcing some of these new rules because guess what? They have teeth. They have a 10 o'clock quiet time. If you're allowed after 10 o'clock, between 10 and 8 a.m., you're out. That's it, you get a fine. And guess who gets the fine? The person renting it, so it stings them. It's really been important to us that we do this. And when it comes to the TRPA, which I do sit on the board, we have been over this with TRPA, and absolutely TRPA's council has told us that vacation rentals are an allowable use in residential areas. Thank you.
Kenny, 30 seconds.
Okay, enforcement. One of the ordinances that I came up with for enforcement is the first time you get a citation, it's $500. Second time, $750. Third time, there is no third time. And the county that just came up with the ordinance that says you may lose your permit. Mine says you will lose your permit, even if you get that citation overturned. I have a friend that had 7 citations on a house across the street, and they all got overturned. In my mind, you get a citation, even if it gets overturned, you got that citation.
Okay, we're gonna stick to the VHR subject because we got a plethora of online questions, as you both can imagine.
What is a plan?
I'm actually gonna go with, that's a lot. I'm actually gonna go with the question that was submitted by the crowd here about VHRs, and this will be to both of you. And I believe, Sue, you're up first right now? I think so.
I'm not paying attention.
Okay, but you both get 3 minutes. At a county meeting relating to VHRs, the need to refrain from capping the number in the county to avoid a lot of empty houses has been mentioned. Please give us your thoughts on whether a cap on the number of VHRs in the county should be imposed, and if so, what the cap should be. Further, please describe how, if no cap is instituted, it will not result in an even greater number of empty houses as more are being built and sold.
Sure, okay, yes, with the cap. So when we had our meeting last week, or a couple weeks ago, again, what we were discussing is how do you institute a cap? And the devil's always in the details. And what we found was that we had a lot of people saying, we don't want a cap because it doesn't do what we want. We had that from some of the moratorium people saying what they wanted was something much more restrictive. In fact, they wanted a cap that hasn't been in there for over 10 years at least since we had our records, and that was a cap of 500 or 600. Well, that's not a cap, that's a moratorium. And fine, we can talk about that. We are not against talking about that, but how do you institute that? The devil, again, is always in the detail. We did not say, gee, we're not going to have caps and we're not going to have clustering issues and work on that, and we're not going to do a moratorium, we're not going to do that. We did not say that. What we said was, we're going to have our staff come back again in 6 months, take a look at what's been happening as far as enforcement, and then decide from there what needs to happen, because maybe it's the enforcement. We've all understood that we don't have the correct enforcement. We got it, sheriff's got it. We have, again, I'm going to say it, repeat myself, we have new enforcement rules that will make a difference, that will sting these bad actors, and that's what we're hoping will help cure this. If it doesn't, then absolutely, we have not ruled out caps, moratoriums, bans, any of that. We'll be coming back in 6 months with some real data to take a look and understand where we go next.
Okay, same question to you. Do you want me to reread it to you?
Yes.
Okay. And you have 3 minutes. At a county meeting relating to VHRs, the need to refrain from capping the number in the county to avoid a lot of empty houses has been mentioned. Please give us your thoughts on whether a cap on the number of VHRs in the county should be imposed, and if so, what the cap should be. Further, please describe how, if no cap is instituted, it will not result in an even greater number of empty houses as more are being built and sold.
I believe the market will correct itself. Sue's correct that if we enforce the rules and everybody plays by the rules and we are strict with the rules and consistent with the rules, the market will correct itself. And I agree that the fact that if they have just instituted that we come back in 6 months with some data and see if it's corrected itself. The city has already done that. And the city, to their benefit or whatever, that is working in the city right now. I can only speak for the county. Now, when everybody talks about a cap and a moratorium and how much money we're gonna lose, $100 million here, $100 million there, you're throwing it around. You have to remember that in the county, all of the TOT goes to El Dorado County General Fund. All of the sales tax that we spend in the county goes to the general fund of El Dorado County. All of our property tax goes to the general fund. We do not benefit directly from vacation rentals in Myers. The problem is that the enforcement has to be done, and we can harp on this all day. We're agreement, total agreement. Enforcement is the key. And I think that, I think with the way the city went about it, they went about it correctly. They went about it way too late, and they have caused the problems that we are in now, and they're going to spill over into the county. If we would have solved this problem 3 years ago, we wouldn't be here today. But we need the enforcement. And as far as the cap goes, I'm in agreement. I think the market will correct itself. And if it doesn't, then definitely we put a moratorium and a cap on vacation rentals.
Did you want to follow up?
Just just a quick clarification. Yeah, thank you. Quick clarification. All the money that comes from TOT does not go into the general fund. Half of it is required by our county charter to go towards economic development. Does not go into a big pot. The other half goes into that big pot, and guess what? We spent $100,000 on our Myers area plan, out of that general fund monies. Okay, also sales tax. The county gets back about 34 cents out of the dollar in sales tax. The rest of that goes to your schools, to your fire districts, goes to your mental health, all kinds of situations. Oh, I have 1 minute? Okay. Sorry. So there's a lot of pots that this money goes into. Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of hotels that add to that pot. We have about $3 million, so again, about $1.5 million goes into the general fund, and that goes to things such as your sheriffs. That's a major part of our general fund money. It goes into public safety, your district attorney, our sheriffs, law enforcement. So it does come back up here. We do have sheriffs up here, and they do a great job.
Kenny, you have 30 seconds to respond. All right. Well, we'll move on to the next section, which is economic development. Great segue from both of you, actually. Kenny, the first question this will be a question to both of you. It is an online question, and so I'll go to you, Kenny, first. 3 minutes each. The perception is that the Lake Tahoe region of the county contributes more to the county revenue than we receive back in services. Number one, is this accurate? If it's accurate, what are you going to do to bring more funds back to Tahoe, and where would you focus additional funding for Tahoe?
Okay, I tried to find out how much money actually goes out and how much money comes in. And I spent an hour and a half, this was in the last election 4 years ago, with the county tax collector. The answer I got after an hour and a half is, I don't know, I only collect it, I don't disperse it. Once it goes into the general fund, or it goes into the economic development area, which all the money from the economic development area is for, I haven't seen, to the best of my knowledge, I haven't seen any of that, half of that TOT money come back up here. It is based on the west side. I don't know how much money we put out, and I don't know how much money we take in. But I can tell you that I will find out. I have tried to find out. I've used the Freedom of Information Act, and I have been stonewalled, like you wouldn't believe, on getting this information. I don't understand why it's so hard to get that information. And if it's hard for me to get that information as a resident right now, I can't imagine what you're going through. And to bring the money back up here, the only way that we're going to survive up here is to break away from El Dorado County. How do we do that? That's for another time. But we need Every time I've talked to the CAO or anybody else that's been down in the West Slope and the other side, they're always saying, you guys always, you get more than you give. Well then, let us go. And we can take care of ourselves. We have the economic engine up here to take care of ourselves, working in conjunction with the city and the county.
Sue, same question to you, 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Do you want to reread it, or?
No, I've got it. The perception is that the county receives more money than it takes in more money than it gets to use. Is that correct?
Get the setback to Tahoe.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It doesn't come back. Okay, and I too have been a little frustrated because it's very difficult. I agree, it's difficult to get a good report out and understand exactly. We've studied it, I've asked, and it has been difficult. But let me tell you a little bit where our money does go back into. And again, I kind of briefly mentioned that just now. Out of our general fund, about 70% of it goes into our public safety, goes into our sheriffs, it goes into things like our juvenile hall. Well, guess what Tahoe has? Tahoe's the only jurisdiction that has some of these. I'm going to give you a little idea of, we're the only ones that have a juvenile hall, the court system that was started with the county. We're the only ones that have the mental health, our health department up here. That's all money that comes, a lot of that is money that comes out of our general fund. And so it's this kind of, it sounds like it's going into a big hole, but it's not. We use a lot of money out of our general fund to come back up here in the Tahoe. When you talk about economic development money, anybody heard of the Tahoe Prosperity Center? We fund that through our economic development money. We fund our Tahoe Film Commission, which is bringing up a major film. Go into it, but it's brought in some major films in the past. We just had Modern Family taping here last year. That was from our film commissioner coming up here to Tahoe and making sure that the money stayed in El Dorado County. They were thinking about going to Placer County and they came back here. So that money does come back. You don't see it directly, but it's here.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. And this is, did you want to reply?
Yes.
Okay, yes, we'll give you 90 seconds for a reply. Sue's done it several times.
Okay, the infrastructure that we have up here, the jails, the mental health, the 56-acre project, the library, the court system, those infrastructures are here already. What we don't have is the personnel. We used to have 7 DAs. We now have 2 or 3. They have to send up from Placerville every week 3 or 4 people just in the DA's office to fill the positions. We don't have the personnel up here. So if we've got all this money, I'm not seeing it because the infrastructure's here. We don't have to build these items. We need the personnel. The police department, the sheriffs, the same thing. They have to send people up here because we don't have the personnel up here. And what I've been told by the CAO and everything is we don't have the money to give you guys the personnel, but we've got the money to spend to send 5 or 6 people up here every week. I'm a business owner. I'd go broke if I did that. I don't see the logic in that if we are making all this money, why don't we have the personnel to take care of our services up here?
30 seconds to respond.
30 seconds, okay. I will say one thing, we are putting money back up here. Does anybody know where the mural is, El Dorado Center? That building is going to be coming down and we're going to be redoing that. That's money that's coming from the county and we're putting money and resources into building property up here and redoing it. So I do say that again, it's difficult to see, but it's here. Money is being spent wisely here and issues that we can get into accordingly, we can talk about in a minute. Sorry.
All right, time. Moving on to the next question. This is once again for both of you, so 3 minutes apiece. And Sue, you could start this one. Speaking of money, and this is a question from the crowd. What are your ideas to increase county revenues to put to projects like road maintenance, erosion control, stormwater treatment, things that we need up here?
Yeah, well, it's an issue. Last year most of us were here last year and we had over 60 feet of snow and we saw what that did to our roads. Roads is a huge issue for me. personally was very concerned when I got into office about how much money was being spent up here. We have something called the pavement index, condition index, PCI. And it gets rated every 3 years. All of our roads, every one of your roads has been rated. The bottom line is our roads are much worse up here. Anything above the snow line, obviously, is much worse. So that's where the money needs to go. Unfortunately, what I found out was there was a pot of money that was staying down in a couple districts down between us and El Dorado Hills because of a compact and a contract. And when I talked to one of his old supervisors, he said, well, we did it because we could. It was over $2 million in road work. So what I did was talk to our county council. We changed that compact, and that money is now free to go to local roads. Elks Club Drive, $1 million came from that fund. We do, and we're getting more and more money. We are actually going, I'm actually on the California CSAC, it's called, California Association of Counties. And we have been going to lobby with the state legislators saying, you have to fix our roads. Because guess what, that's where the money, that's the majority of the money comes from. That's where it's supposed to come from. And they've been slowly nicking away at our road fund money. So we've been going in and talking to them. I've gone in and talked to them and said, we've got to do something. We now have a couple propositions that you really need to watch that could help or could hinder our ability to get better roads and better infrastructure. But absolutely, we need more money for infrastructure.
Kenny, same question to you, 3 minutes. What are your ideas to increase county revenues, to increase road maintenance, erosion control, stormwater treatment, other aspects of that?
Everything Sue said is absolutely correct. We have to go to the Board of Supervisors, we have to go to all these other agencies and ask for money, and it's a battle, it's a fight. Now, I don't know how to do that fight because I'm not a supervisor yet, but as a consumer, you're right, we have to beg for money. And how do we get that money back up here, other than begging? The only way to do it is to break off and become our own entity. One way that I saw to bring money up here was for the enforcement of the VHRs. And this, I can only talk on this because it's the only one that I know about. I wanted to increase the TOT tax by 3% and dedicate that 3% directly to the sheriff's office. I met with Sheriff DeAugustini for over an hour and a half, and that was an idea that we came up with, and he would support that. We need to raise the money on the visitors that come and use our facilities as much as we want to raise the money on ourselves. We need to pay our fair share also, but the visitor, they need to pay their fair share equally. They're using our roads. They're using our infrastructure. Our infrastructure cannot handle what we have now. And if we want to increase the tourism and everything else up here, we're going to have to fix our infrastructure. And how do we get the money? Either we do it through the TOT, we go through the visitors, or we go to all the agencies and beg.
I'm actually not going to allow a rebuttal on this one. I'm actually going to move on to the next question. Kenny, you're up on this one first. And this is to both of you once again, so 3 minutes each. It's a great segue, Kenny. What's your position on Measure J and the county's November ballot, and why?
Forgive me, I'm not familiar with Measure J.
Measure J would increase the TOT from 10% to 12%.
Oh, absolutely. Where would that money go, and where would that money be dedicated? At the end of that sentence, that it would be Measure J is to increase it by 2%. I want a 3%, but I want that sentence to continue and go the extra 2% or 3% like I proposed to go directly to enforcement on the VHRs.
So
Sue,
that's
3
a
minutes.
fabulous segue, thank you. Yes, and I agree. I think our TOT money, as I said, half of it goes to economic development. Economic development is our engine. So we are a tourism-based industry. Whether you live in Tahoe, Meeks Bay, up in Strawberry, Kybers, down in Pollock Pines, Highway 50 comes through. We are the major corridor that comes in, and it's a huge issue for us. I think really what we need to look at is how do we use a user fee? How could we possibly get a user fee that would work? And what we're looking into right now, and I support, is the idea of finding a way to tax people when they come into our basin and figure that out quickly, because that is truly what we need to do. We're talking about, we don't have proper transit because we're being funded as a commuter town rather than a tourist town. That needs to change. So that has been those conversations, and I agree. I think our TFT was too low. I'm hoping that everybody votes on Measure J. But in the meantime, let's talk about other ways we can get money for our infrastructure that is failing, because we have a population of 50,000 in this basin, but we have over 20 million people, arguably, that come here every year that use our facilities. How do we get into that? How do we tap into that and use that money to help us all?
Okay. So we're gonna move on to the next question, once again, to both Sue and Kenny. And Sue, you get to start off with this. What is your opinion of the current state of relationships between the county and city of South Lake Tahoe? Example, different opinions on the 56-acre tract. And we have a couple follow-up questions. Should the county just sell the 56 acres tract to the county and to the city, I'm sorry, and yeah, we can sell it to ourselves. And what would you do to improve the relationship between the county and the city?
I think we have a very good relationship. I'm in constant conversation with city council members. My CAO and the interim city manager are in conversations. They just talked the other day exactly about this. The 56-acre property is owned by the county, but has been leased by the city for over 50 years. That contract is coming up in about 4 or 5 years. And so we have said, let's open up that conversation and talk about what we can do. What's the positives we could get out of 56 acres if we collaborate together? And you know what? It's been a great conversation, and it's just starting. I'm very excited about this because I worked on the 56-acre master plan years ago. I mean, I'm talking almost 20 years ago. There's a master plan out there that makes sense for the 56 acres. And it necessarily takes a collaboration between the city and the county. And that's what that process, we're starting that process right now. We understand there's been maintenance issues. We understand there's been issues with the senior center and what we can do there. And it's been frustrating for all, myself included. But we can make a difference now that we can get everybody at the table. There's been a change in the city. I'm very happy to talk and very interested in what their interim city manager has to say, because he's making sense. He understands that the maintenance on that lease was the city's. It doesn't mean, we're not going to point fingers, we're just saying let's work together to make sure we have a better agreement next time. We all have a clear understanding of where we need to go. And let's figure out funding in collaboration on how to fix things that are broken. And that's the conversation we're having right now. So I'm very uplifted, and I think we're going in the right direction.
Kenny, same question to you. Do you want me to reread it, just to clarify? No. Okay.
The 56-acre project. The way the question was read is, what can the county and the city do to work together? I would like to refer to that as, what can the community do to work together? We live up here. We all are together up here. What we need to do with the senior center is we need to fix the roof. There's a lot of deferred maintenance. Now, the county has taken a position so far that you guys rent it, you guys need to fix it. The city has taken a position that we are the leasees, you guys are the landlords, you should fix it. And anybody that has rented a house, if you have a leaky roof, who fixes the roof? The owner of the property fixes the roof. The city is willing to work in conjunction with El Dorado County and put up money. In fact, I believe they've put up $100,000, Tom? $100,000 right now to fix the roof. The county needs to either match that or double it and fix that building. We need to work together on this. And the collaboration, the difference between what the county wants, it doesn't matter what the county wants. This is our area up here. This is our community center. This is our community. We should be deciding what needs to be done. And I know it's a big battle for the money and everything, but when I talked to the senior center, they came up to me and they said, we need this, we need that, we need that. Okay, great. You tell me what you need, you give me a list, and it's my job, like I said before, to go get the money. And the money should be coming from the county. in conjunction with the city. The city's willing to step up to the plate. The county needs to step up to that plate also.
All right.
So
Did you want to?
real quick, I do want to correct that. Just let me go a little further with that example of leasing a home. If you leased a home, if you were the leasee, and the guy that owned the home said, hey, guess what? I'm going to give you this house rental for free. All you got to do is keep it fixed up, maintain it, and it's free. And here you go. Here's your 40-year rental agreement. And when you're done, I expect that house to be looking like it was before. That's going to be your job. Everybody signs that. Everybody signs that agreement. The owner and the leasee. Guess what? That's exactly what happened. We have a written agreement from the city that we all signed that says that in lieu of any payment, the city doesn't pay the county anything to use 56 acres in the middle of our Central Park. And yet, because of that, they get that because they were to be maintaining all buildings and structures. That's it. That's that clear.
Kenny, you have 30 seconds to reply.
Why punish the community up here on a contract that was written a long time ago? It sounds to me like the county is looking for a way to get out of this when they should be looking for a way to get into this. I don't care what the reason is. We need to work together. The county needs to step up to the plate and work in conjunction with the city and fix that center.
All right, moving on to the next, we have a question from the audience, actually, and this is for you, Sue.
Okay.
You mentioned the rebuild of the El Dorado building.
Yes.
And we had a question, will this include affordable housing?
No, only because we're getting funding, as I said, it's coming out of our county funds, which are going to be directed, which are restricted to our services that are going to be going into there. We also purchased, by the way, the Tahoe office across the street from it. That's going to be set up as a temporary building. We're going to then completely redo the El Dorado Center, and then we're going to make a giant campus between the two because there's always been a lack of parking there. If anyone's had to try to get county services, there's a lack. And guess what? The El Tahoe post office had great parking, so we are going to make that one big giant campus. I'm very excited about it. But no, the funds are restricted there, and I know affordable housing is probably going to come up, and I'll discuss that on how we get there because that is important. Affordable workforce. Whatever you want to call it, we need more housing, absolutely. But unfortunately, because of where the funds are coming from, we can't use that for that. But we're going to have a fabulous new campus for our employees and for our constituents.
Kenny, you have 90 seconds to reply if you wish.
No, because there's really nothing as an individual right now that I can do about affordable housing. The only way I can make influence or policy is to have a seat at the table. But as far as affordable housing goes, I think every new project that comes into this community needs to be tied in directly with affordable housing in this area.
All right, so we're going to move on to community issues. Online question for both candidates. Kenny, you'll get to the first go at this. What can be done to address the serious traffic congestion in the Myers area when volumes of visitors are coming in and out of Tahoe? And also, onto that, do you believe the roundabout Caltrans will build next year at US 50 and State Route 89 will help or hinder those problems?
The roundabout in Myers, I believe, will hinder the problem. All of the meetings that I attended with Caltrans, the community, Lake Valley Fire Department, the local CHP, the Truckee CHP, the El Dorado County Department of Transportation, the Caltrans, local Caltrans, are all adamant against the roundabout the way it is done right now. The problem is that there's a lot of safety issues, specifically with the fire department. And in talking with the fire department, most of their issues were brushed aside because the decision for the roundabout is made in Marysville. They're basing that roundabout on 5 accidents in 7 years. 7 accidents in 5 years. What they did a few years ago was they raised the speed limit in Tahoe. They did a study, and there are 3.5 million cars coming through that corridor every year. When you read what a roundabout does, it says that it does not work in a high traffic volume area. Truckee CHP has contacted us and said that it does not work the way they predicted it to work. So in all these meetings that we've been to, Caltrans has taken the attitude that it's a done deal and it's gonna go through. Can we stop it? Can we change it? Look at it a little different? Because I know that something needs to be done. I live there at that corner, so I know. But something needs to be done, but I don't think that a roundabout is a complete answer, and neither do any of the businesses, agencies, or anybody out there. And what was the second part?
The,
I think you answered it.
First part.
it was about the traffic, when we dealt with the serious traffic problems.
GPS. Okay, we've had several meetings on the GPS, and the CHP came up with an algorithm that goes directly to the app companies. And what it is there's a rule out there that states you cannot, it's a misdemeanor, $225 fine from the state of California, you cannot intentionally bypass an agricultural station. So what you need to do is, the CHP has already said that you can upload that to the Department of Transportation's website, Caltrans's website, and when someone gets on Waze, Google Maps, any type of app that does that, they will get on that and it will say that there is no shortcut around there. So that will eliminate the area. I know they're doing a nudge system right now. That costs $800 a day to do. We need to do it in 8 locations. That's $6,400 a weekend, a day. This will take care of all 8 areas, 0 cost, and it can be implemented right now.
All right, so same question to you, Sue, 3 minutes. What can be done to address the serious traffic congestion in the Myers area when volumes of visitors are coming in and out of Tahoe? Do you believe the roundabout that Caltrans will build next year at US 50, State Route 99, will help or hinder?
Right, so it started getting bad when our economy got better. And it's gotten progressively a little worse because of more tourism up here. So for whatever reason, in 2016, I decided to bring in all of our agencies, brought in the sheriff, brought in the city's police, even brought in our Chamber of Commerce, brought in everybody, sat them down and said, what can we do about this? This is traffic that's flowing through Myers and ending up generally in the city or somewhere around the lake. It's an issue for us. What we found, and we talked about the GPS when we had the CHP in there, was that there's no easy answer. What CHP has told me in the last 6 months is they've looked very much into that GPS system and it won't work because they'd have to be able to spend the extra money, Caltrans would have to do it, and they're saying it's not going to happen, is to put up signs, electronic signs, saying you can't go this way or that way, there has to be notification. So the CHP told me that that is not a viable option. And trust me, we've tried a lot of viable options. We thought about doing locals only, not allowed. We thought about making some curves, extra curves. That's the nudge, is to try to do the curves. It is working. We're only doing it in one place, and it is working somewhat, but it's affecting other residents. So is it the cure-all? No. We're still looking at it, but at least we are trying to address the issue. It's one piece at a time and trying to get there, because we all understand it's an issue, and it is back to the GPS and how do you stop that? Not an easy answer.
Did you want 90 seconds?
Oh, I forgot to talk about the roundabout. I'm sorry.
Yes, we'll go back. We'll let her do-
You want to talk about the roundabout?
Yep, if you don't mind.
No.
Okay.
We'll give you like 90 seconds.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I apologize. So the roundabout, yeah, that is, I agree with Kenny, it's a done deal. We have been talking to them more than once about our concerns. I do have concerns also. I have the same, I turn left off Highway 50 to Highway 89 every day, probably 3 times a day, and because that's where I live, at Christmas Valley, so I get it. Roundabouts in general work 90% of the time. It's when you have that congestion, those holidays, those are the issue times. I don't have a problem with roundabouts, but this roundabout, there's some issues, and we are trying to address them with Caltrans, but they're their own agency.
All right, Kenny, 90 seconds to rebut to what she said about the...
Okay, rebut the GPS issue. The CHP lieutenant and I have been in correspondence with this. I have the emails. It is absolutely incorrect what Sue said, that we have to put up electronic signs. The CHP has got it in writing that all we have to do is upload to the app. Now, that will not prevent anybody. We cannot put signs up. Signs will not work. But we have, in the county's defense, they have sent a letter to Sacramento signed by the CHP and the Department of Transportation and the local Caltrans that they're looking into implementing the GPS issue. But for the CHP lieutenant, and I can produce the information that is absolutely incorrect, what she said.
Sue, 30 seconds if you wish.
I heard it from the horse's mouth, from our CHP lieutenant, who's still there. He told me, oops, no, we can't do it. So I'm going with him, sorry.
All right, well, let's move on to another question. Sue, that you're good to start with this one.
Sure.
And this is an audience question. Are you for the quote-unquote loop road? And in any case, do you think the voters should be allowed to vote on it, as 1,400 people did vote before?
Right. So I don't know if any of you have ever been to Boulder, Colorado, but they have a great downtown there. And they basically completely shut off traffic, and they have a walking mall. Have any of you ever been to Europe? Almost every little village has the same thing. They put bollards up there around their plazas, and it works, and it's wonderful, and it creates economic stability and economic development because people get out of their cars and they walk, and you see families everywhere. I like that vision. I really, truly do like that vision. Now, is the loop road the catch-all to everything? It's got issues. I agree. I sit on the Tahoe Transportation, so we have been, at many meetings talking about how do we address some of those issues. Some of those issues to me is parking. Where do we park everybody? I don't think we need to go to Nevada. I think we need to address parking in California. There's another issue, housing. Are we going to be separating housing, the two different areas, separating into two different areas? Those are issues that I believe, can be solved, but we need to start talking about those issues more before we continue on too much, because it is a huge, huge project. Again, I believe in it. I think it would be fabulous for our community, but there are issues that really still need to be hammered out.
All right, Kenny, same question to you. Are you for the quote-unquote loop road? And in any case, do you think the voters should be allowed to vote on it, as 1,400 people did before?
That's a tough one, because I don't live in the city and I can't vote in the city. As a supervisor, I would sit on the TRPA board, the TTD board, and I would be one voice out of many. The loop road in concept will work. The problem with the loop road is that if they want to have a walkable area where people can get out of their cars and walk around and enjoy our area, they need to have a place to park. When I talked to the TTD, I specifically asked them, and it was at a chamber, the South Shore Chamber meeting, and I asked, where is the parking for the people on the California side? So you want people to come in, use the loop road, then you want them to park in Nevada because there's no parking in California, then walk back into California. I don't see that happening. There is no parking on the California side for anybody to walk around. I also asked the same question, where is the parking on the Nevada side? There is no parking for the loop road. The first thing we need to do if we want to get that loop road in there is we have to have parking. If you establish where the parking is for the loop road will work. The way it is now, the loop road will not work. It will also displace quite a few people for affordable housing in that area. The answers we normally get are, well, we'll just build it and then we'll worry about it. No, the TTD has actually come back and said that not one shovel of dirt will turn until there's affordable housing in place. Am I correct on that? Yes. Okay, so that's what we should be doing with parking. There should be parking in place before we do the loop road. You can't have a cart and pull it without a horse. You have to have these things in place before you do the loop road.
All right. All right, thank you. We're going to move on to the next question. And this is an audience question. And Kenny, you get to start with this one. A 2012 report by the Tahoe Prosperity Center specified that about 20% of the residential households could not afford to buy a single-family home. This trend has only worsened in the intervening years. What are you going to do to ensure a resident middle class does not further disappear under your watch, vis-a-vis developers, vis-a-vis work opportunity, vis-a-vis community sustainability?
Once again, that's a tough question because the answer nobody's gonna like. Affordable housing, it's gone in Tahoe. We don't have enough empty space to build affordable housing. And when you build a single-family house that is 6,000 square feet, to turn it into a VHR, even though it's not a motel or a hotel, you've just priced anybody out of business. Are you going to be able to afford, as working as a contractor, or anybody in this town, are you going to be able to afford a 6,000 square foot house? We've put ourselves in this position, and unless we tear down the existing large houses and build the smaller houses that people can afford, I don't see any affordable housing in Lake Tahoe, in South Lake Tahoe. I think we're beyond that. And how do you bring it back in? You tear it down, start over again? That's not the answer either. Do you stop building all these new mega homes that are single family homes, but they're actually motels in a residential area? Yeah, well, you guys tell me. We live here, okay? I don't have all the answers, and I'm going to have to get the answers from the community. So, what's the answer? I'm throwing it back on you guys. What is the answer to this?
Sue, same question to you, 3 minutes. A 2012 report by the Tahoe Prosperity Center specified that 20% of the residential households could afford to buy a single-family home. This trend has only worsened in intervening years. What are you going to do to ensure a resident middle class does not further disappear under your watch? Vis-a-vis developers, work opportunity, community sustainability.
Yeah, the housing crisis is all over the state of California, but in particular up here, it's at a critical mass. And there are things I believe we can do, in fact, things we have started to do to try to turn this wave. One thing I think we all see right now in our town centers are dilapidated old buildings. That's our affordable housing for right now. That needs to change. We need to get incentives to the developers. We need to lower the fees for people who are willing to do affordable housing and make it work for them so that we can start seeing it back in our communities again. That is a plan. It's a plan that Tahoe Prosperity Center has been helping with since I started the Housing Task Force. They have taken it over and they've tasked this. And I believe in what they're doing, and that is to incentivize more affordable housing, workforce housing. It's trying to incentivize and by lowering fees on those who need this kind of living most. And it is utmost importance to me that we take care of this now.
Okay, we're gonna move on to another question. I'll let you have a reply. You've had not quite as many as Sue.
Okay, you brought up a great point. The fees that developers are charged, we cannot blame the building of the community on the developers at all. They're building an investment, they're building a house, they're building, for lack of a better term, a vacation rental, or they're building a large home for someone that they hope will come up and buy it as a second home. We can't blame the developers, we can't blame the contractors, we can't blame the realtors. We have to blame ourselves for allowing the agencies to charge outrageous fees in order to build a house. It is so cost prohibitive to build a house that you have to build a 6,000 square foot house in order to reap your benefit from the investment back. You cannot build a 2,500 square foot house in a 2,500 square foot area and make any money. And we're all about making money, along with bringing the tourists in, and along with being this a community. But we have to lower the developmental fees, and this is across the board. This is stupid, and TRPA and the TAUs and everything else. But once again, we've allowed this to happen, and we've brought it on ourselves, and now we've got to deal with it. And if we don't deal with it, our children are going to deal with it. And I don't know that, I don't think my grandchildren are gonna deal with it, because I don't think they're gonna be here, because we don't have any real community sense right now.
Did you want 30 seconds, Susan?
Sure. You know, TRK right now is working on development rights, and it's going to be a big issue. You probably haven't heard a whole lot on it right now, but our commodities market is what has kept us unable to have affordable housing. It's one of the bigger reasons why, because they take this artificial reason for limiting homes, which is fine. That in itself is fine, but when you put it to a fee now, in order to purchase what you need, and if they were talking affordable residences, that doesn't work. So we're trying to do what we can.
All right. The next is an online question to both. Sue, you get to start with this.
Okay.
All right. Also dealing with community issues. St. Joseph's Community Land Trust is a local nonprofit with a mission to improve the quality of life for families who cannot afford housing. It is concerned about the lack of affordable housing inventory in the South Shore, like all of us. How can El Dorado County help organizations like the Land Trust to purchase single-family homes and make them permanently available to local residents at an affordable price?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're starting. We're trying to get going right now with the help of Tahoe Prosperity Center, is get this movement afoot where we talk about affordable. It's not just affordable housing, it's achievable housing, which goes even beyond that. It's low income, it's affordable, it's achievable, it's workforce housing. We are suffering because we don't have people to work in our businesses. How many people have seen that help wanted sign out there? I was just at Lakeside the other day and for lunch, and they said they were closed because they couldn't find employees to work there. That needs to change, and that comes from our housing crisis. And our county is working very strongly right now. We're very much afoot in helping through the Tahoe Prosperity Center up here in Tahoe, but also on the West Slope, when we're talking about Holly Pines and that area, it's an issue statewide. So we are working between our general plan on the West Slope and the Tahoe Prosperity Center here in the basin to make some differences.
Same question to you, Kenny. I'll reread it just so you can remember. St. Joseph's Community Land Trust is a local nonprofit with a mission to improving the quality of life for families who cannot afford housing, and they are concerned about the lack of affordable housing inventory on the South Shore. How can El Dorado County help organizations like the Land Trust to purchase single-family homes and make them permanently available to local residents at an affordable price?
Lower the developmental fees, have the Land Trust work with the Prosperity Center, because they are working towards affordable housing. So why not put all three of those agencies together? Is the trust working with Prosperity Center?
Yeah, we're all in conversation.
Then we are on the right path. And that's what you need to do. You need to have a public-private organization and commitment from public and private to move forward. But the first thing we need to do is lower the fees to make it affordable in the first place.
All right. We're going to move on to a question from the audience. This is to you, Kenny. You keep mentioning breaking away from the county, ... How would you do that in a 4-year term?
I couldn't. When you break away from the county, you would, a lot of people, we tried this back in 1988. I believe it was
In
1988.
the 80s somewhere, yes.
Yeah, we tried to break away. There was, blowback, it just wasn't gonna happen. Between 1988 and now, we have the money through property tax, TOT, and everything else to be self-sustained. Now, I know there's representatives here from the Pollock Pines area, and I hope they're watching on. If this area broke away from the county, it would benefit the Pollock Pines area as well, because we've got that granite wall. They would actually become part of another district, and down there, El Dorado Hills, I believe, has tripled in population, so they're going to redistrict. And in talking with the CAO, by 2020, Tahoe will probably not even have a representative, because we'll be outnumbered in registered voters. So it will benefit them, because most of the movers and shakers live in Pollock Pines. The idea, from down there at the El Dorado County, most of the movers and shakers live in Pollock Pines.
We're going to check that one.
Okay, so how do you break away? According to the LAFCO and everything else that I've looked at, it's almost impossible to form your own city. It's almost impossible to form your own county. When you take a survey anywhere, what's almost the number one or number two thing that everybody wants to do up here? Recreation. We are a recreation area. El Dorado County is a pro-development area. We are pro-development beyond that. We need to focus on recreation. So why not talk to Alpine County, have them merge with us, and we will become Alpine County. It will, and I know a lot of people, when I talk to them privately, the first thing out of their mouth is, hey, it might not work. When I explain how everything will work, I've changed a lot of minds. This could work. I'm not saying it will work, but it could work. If we combine with Alpine County, they have 1,000 people in there, smallest county in the area. If they combine with us, we will have 34,000 people in population, but per capita, we will be the richest county in the state of California because of the property tax, because we keep it all here. City of South Lake Tahoe, they stay City of South Lake Tahoe. Nothing changes with them. We will be able to improve our roads. We will be able to hire more people because we have the money now. We do not have to go down to the west, and I'm not pointing at you, I'm just pointing at the west slope and beg for money. We will have it here. And the way I look at it, it would take 2, 4, and 6 years to actually pull this off if it could be done. So what I'm trying to do is put myself out of a job. But it's for the betterment of the community, and we can be a recreational area.
Thank you. Sue, 90 seconds to reply.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right, Kenny, in the 80s, there was a group that wanted to separate and create a Tahoe County. They did a feasibility study, and the feasibility study came out overwhelmingly that it was not possible. And we're talking 80s, when we did have a pretty good economy then. We still had casinos that came back and gave us a little money back from all of our residual small businesses that were here. So my concern would be is number one that should happen is have a feasibility study again and see if it's even possible. Because we are a recreational area up here in the Tahoe Basin. And that necessarily means that we don't have that infrastructure to be able to create a year-round funding mechanism that would have to pay for a new health department, a new library, all kinds of new services that right now the county is paying for us up here.
Kenny, 30 seconds if you want it.
Okay, the infrastructure is already here. The buildings are already here. We don't have to build anything. Everything is already here. Where we get our money from is the property tax. How many, I mean, I know my property tax is outrageous, but how much of it comes back to us up here? I don't know. Does anybody know? But all I know is that if we were our own county, 100% of the property tax would be up here. We would also get well, not 100%, but we would get property tax from the city.
Time.
All
Can I
right.
just say quickly?
No, we got a format here. Sorry. So we're going to stick to the format, and we're going to finish off the evening how I imagine quite a few people in the local community finish off the evening. That's with cannabis. So moving on to a nice one here. Sue, you get to handle this first. Please summarize the package of the 5 cannabis-related measures on the county's November ballot, and do you have any position on these measures?
So a lot of you probably know I was actually on the ad hoc committee for cannabis for the county. We worked on this for 2 years. We brought in both sides, and I have to say it's probably one of the best ad hoc committees I've ever been on, because we started off with one side that were growers, and the other side was sheriff and DAs. And I looked out and I thought, there's no way in heck that we're all going to come to an agreement. And sure enough, within these 2 years, we have come to an agreement that we're going to put this back on the ballot. The ballot the idea came from all the public input that said that, well, we wanted you, and they say, we wanted, the voters have spoken in California. Yeah, they did, but in El Dorado County, it was kind of 50-50. And they don't want it, so let's not do anything. Well, we do have a law that says we have to allow it, so what do? We have 2 things that are on the ballot, and it's a 5-question ballot. The first one is, will you allow taxation? And that's critical, because from my opinion, after listening to all sides, what we need most in this, 2 things, enforcement and education. We cannot allow our children to be subjected to this whole new recreation medicinal area without education. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying we need to make sure that we have a good education system in there so that our parents understand and the children get the understanding of what this is. Because basically, this has been like prohibition and we're now releasing it. It's time to understand what those consequences are. So again, not one way or the other, I feel it's just very important. So what the other 4 questions are going to be, okay, if you allow taxation, do you want an indoor, outdoor, cultivation with lights, or grown indoors? What would that look like? From there, from those 5 questions, we're hoping to get clear answers to be able to move forward with our cannabis ordinance and understand what we need to do next, which would be how do we maintain, how do we enforce it, how do you license it, and all dispensaries, all that. So it's very complicated, but in a nutshell, we're asking the voters to tell us what part about this you want or don't want.
Kenny, same question to you. Please summarize the package of 5 cannabis-related measures on the county's November ballot, and do you have a position on these measures?
Yes, let the voters decide on what's going to happen. But no matter what happens with this, once again, as with the VHR issue, nobody's going to be happy on each side, and it's probably going to end up in the courts. It's no secret that I would like to open up a retail marijuana store in the city of South Lake Tahoe. I came up with a business plan last year when they first formed, and in that business plan, I offered 1% of the gross to 10 nonprofits. And I did this voluntarily. Boys and Girls Club, Christmas Cheer, Live Violence Free, the Veterans, and others. I also offered it to the schools, and I also offered it to the police department. And in that offer with the Barton Memorial Hospital, the schools, and the police department, I was going to have one area where they could have pamphlets, reach out people, and phone numbers and contacts for their awareness of marijuana and what it does. We also did another study. We anticipated that 85% of the money that we make in the sales tax, and I was going to voluntarily, and this is what you need to do, you need to work with the community. You don't need to put it to a vote. You have the people voluntarily give the money back to the community, just like Lisa Maloff is doing right now. You give it back. Nobody told her to do it. Nobody forced her. Nobody took a vote. But she did it because it's the right thing to do. So you get all the retail stores, give it back. 85% of the money up here will come from the tourists. You won't put a dent in the local guy that you've been buying from for 40 years because you're not going to pay the outrageous tax that probably the Californian's going to put on it anyway. So all of ours will be tourist money coming in. We have volunteered to do this. And I tried to open up a medical store back in 2008 when I built the building out there in Myers. And I was turned down. It was a 3-2 vote of the Board of Supervisors. And we anticipated $185,000 a month. And I was going to donate voluntarily, once again, 10% of the gross to the community of Myers to do whatever, do whatever they want with it. Because it's the right thing to do. With these measures, this is what the community wants to do. They want to do the right thing. They want to tax it. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, especially the agencies. Okay? So I say, give it to them. Give it to them not only through a vote, but give it to them voluntarily also, because this is our community. Oh, and I don't smoke it, but I mean, I look at it as another retail business, which I've run retail businesses forever in this town.
All right, so we're going to move on to another cannabis question. And Kenny, you can start this to both once again. This is a question here from the audience. County measures for cannabis. Why was it necessary to go to the ballot on cannabis issues in El Dorado County? What if these measures fail? Will that be the end of the possibility of the industry in El Dorado County?
There's a website down there, and there's a group down there called the El Dorado Growers Association.
Yep,
Alliance. They're very powerful. It will not end if none of these measures pass. It won't end. They will start it from a different angle, and they will push it forward. Because it makes sense to tax a legal product and make money off of it and give it back to the community. I don't see a problem with that.
Sue, same question to you. Why did it go to the ballot, and what if all these measures fail?
So the state of California, in Proposition 64, allows each county, each jurisdiction to decide whether they will allow commercialization of recreational. I'm talking recreational. So in these ballot statements, what we're asking is, do you want it? And if so, what would that look like? So it's really important for all of you to make sure that you read each and every one of these. It was difficult for us. The staff originally wanted us to put out 10 of these, and I said, oh my gosh, no, down to 1 or 2. Well, it took a lot of refining to get it to 4 or 5, but we did get 5. But the bottom line is, if this were to not pass, if all these don't pass, then we don't allow commercialization within El Dorado County. That is our ability by law, by the California law, is we can decide that. So if the voters say no, then we're not going to allow the commercialization. It will still allow medical marijuana. I don't want to get everyone confused about this. This is the commercialized part of it, on how we commercially do dispensaries and the such. Medical marijuana is going to be a little different in there. There'll be some nuances, but bottom line is it's about commercialization.
All right. So we're going to move on to closing statements. And before we do that, I do want to give a quick shout out. I totally forgot to mention Liz Sieferman here. Sieferman, I got it correct there. Has been the timekeeper, has been doing a great job. Thank you very much for counting down. Big round of applause for Liz. So we flipped a coin. Kenny, you didn't get the coin. I picked it up before you got to it. I know. Liz, no, I'm sorry. Sue, you get to start with your closing statement, and Kenny, you will follow 3 minutes each.
Thank you. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for coming out, and for those listening, everywhere from Polly Pines up to Tahoma. Big shout out to everybody in my district, and say thank you very much for listening. An educated voter is critical. Always been critical, but we do have a lot of issues out here, and so it's very critical. Please get out and vote. The reason I'm running for re-election, as I said, is because I love this county. I want to continue to work as hard as I can for you, and I promise to do so. I spend a lot of time driving back and forth and talking to all of our constituents and trying to talk to all of our agencies and get everybody at the table so we can collaborate and work together. And that's what I feel my strong point is. I've been 15 years working with special agencies, working in the elected officials arena, making sure that we all get to the table. If there's an issue, we all get to the table and we talk about it. Talk to the community, we talk to the agencies, and we get things done that way. So I appreciate your vote on November 6th, but please make sure you read everything that's going to be out there. There's a lot of information. Thank you again for getting informed.
All right, Kenny, you got 3 minutes. I promised you I'd remind you that you wanted to say something about what's in the back of the back of the room. So
good
there you
reminder.
go.
Yeah, I stopped too.
Yeah, we both have pamphlets back there, which are the same pamphlets that are on your seat. But I also have self-addressed stamped envelopes back there that if you do not want me to know who is supporting me or not, throw some money in there and mail it to me. It's already got a stamp on it. That's an unsolicited beg. Okay, I'm going to read my statement because I want to make sure there's no difference in what you hear on the radio, which you will probably be hearing pretty soon. It's the same as this, and you're probably going to be hearing it quite a bit. My name is Kenny Kurtzwater, and I have lived, worked, and enjoyed South Lake Tahoe as a resident since 1977 when I came here for a vacation and stayed on, as so many have. Many of you know me as the ski bum. Many of you know me as the bartender at Carlos Murphy's for 20 years, and many of you know me as a contractor and owner of K&K Services, a tree service and roofing company. Most of you know me from my articles in the Mountain News. Regardless of how you know me, the point is you know me. You know my thoughts and my position on everything that concerns our community. There is no hidden agenda with me, nor will there ever be. Pam and I, my wife, were married in 1981 at Emerald Bay, and we celebrated our wedding day at the Amica Ranch Rodeo. We've raised our 3 children here, all of whom were born at Barton. I have mountain biked every trail and swam in every lake in the Sierras. I have skied Mount Talac, Trimmer, and most of the other peaks in and around the Sierras and try to ski every day during the winter. I worked 2 jobs until I was 53 years old just to survive up here. I'm a 20-year retired major, having served 20 years in the Nevada Army National Guard. I attended Lake Tahoe Community College when it was located on Highway 50 and at its current location. I took all of my business classes there, and my company is successful for it. Thank you, Mr. Mort Meyer, he was my business teacher. And my wife got her AA from LTCC. My oldest son, Caleb, a Navy veteran also, attended several classes there, and my youngest son, Marshall, also received his AA at LTCC. Our family's roots are here, and we are grateful to be able to live, work, and play here. I am very active in our community, both personally and professionally, through my company, where we provide labor, monetary donations, firewood, and services to all local fundraisers and events. My company cleans the beaches, rakes the lawns, and empties all the garbage cans at Reagan Beach, El Dorado Beach, and Lakeview Commons every July 5th. And we've done that for the last 20 years because it's the right thing to do. The Children's Memorial Tree is and will always be a factor with our family, as my son Caleb has a plaque there. And there are so many of our kids who have passed before their time also on that tree. I do not seek any endorsements that would even hint at a conflict of interest, as I would like to go into the position of County Supervisor for District 5 with a clean and clear conscience. This is the time for the community to get together and move forward. I do not take this position lightly and will be a full-time supervisor and continue to be a full-time resident. To the residents of the city of South Lake Tahoe, Myers, Kybers, Pollock Pines, Strawberry, Tahoma, Twin Bridges, Echo Summit, I am asking for your vote of confidence, trust, and accountability in seeking the position of Supervisor, District 5 in El Dorado County. Thank you. Think globally and act locally.
Well, let's have a hand for both of our candidates. I want to thank Todd Post, who did a great job as our moderator. And thank you for coming, and a lot of good questions. Thank you for your participation, and thank you to the folks who watched online. And we'll see you again. We're doing the City Council Candidates Forum on October 4th. 5:30 will be at the college, the boardroom, and all 9 of the City Council candidates have agreed to participate. So have a great rest of your evening.